Sounds weird, doesn't it? How could something that didn't exist in your world just appear everywhere? Did the world suddenly change, or is it something else at play here? This is the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, often called the frequency illusion. It's a complex psychological trick that our brain plays on us. When we first encounter something new, whether it's an idea, a person, a product, or a concept, our brain suddenly starts noticing it everywhere, even though it's been there all along. But why does this happen? Why does it feel like the world suddenly changes the moment we become aware of something new? Understanding the brain's biases. The brain is constantly filtering information. There's so much sensory input that it could easily become overwhelmed. So it selectively attends to things that seem important or novel based on personal relevance. When something new catches your attention, your brain starts giving it more focus. And voila, suddenly you start seeing it everywhere. This isn't some magical shift in the world around you. It's just how your brain works. It begins to see what it thinks is important. But this illusion can lead us to believe that the world has somehow changed to accommodate the new thing. We start assuming that the thing we just learned or discovered is now everywhere, when in fact, it was always there. The science behind the illusion. It's all about cognitive bias, the mental shortcuts we take to make sense of the world. One of the main biases at work here is confirmation bias, which causes us to focus on information that confirms what we already believe or have recently noticed, while ignoring everything else that contradicts it. Let's dive deeper into this. Imagine you've recently been introduced to a new idea, like a particular style of music or a unique fashion trend. Your brain, eager to confirm that this new thing is important, starts seeking out examples of this style or trend in your everyday life. You start noticing more and more people wearing similar clothes or listening to the same music, and you conclude that it's everywhere. But in reality, the trend has likely been there all along. You just didn't notice it until now. The role of our attention. Your brain's selective attention plays a huge role in this. Think of it like a filter. Your brain is constantly bombarded with information, but it can't process everything. So it picks out the things that seem most relevant to you. This is why when something new comes into your life, whether it's an interest, a hobby, or a person, it feels like you start seeing it everywhere. The brain is focusing its attention on the novel stimulus and tuning out the rest. Take a new phone, for example. You get a new smartphone and you're suddenly hyper aware of everyone else with the same model. It's not that the phone has just been introduced to the world, it's just that your attention has been heightened, making you more likely to spot it in others. In reality, those phones were always there, but you just didn't have the same level of focus on them before. The impact of social media and advertising. In today's digital age, the frequency illusion has been amplified by social media and advertising. Every time you search for something online or interact with an ad, your brain processes it as something that you should pay attention to. And as you keep scrolling, that same product, idea, or trend follows you. The more you see it, the more your brain reinforces its importance. Have you ever noticed how an ad for a product you've just searched for starts popping up everywhere? What's even more interesting is that the media and advertisers know this. They use these cognitive biases to their advantage, shaping the way we view the world and pushing us to keep engaging with what they want us to see. Real life examples of the frequency illusion. The frequency illusion isn't limited to just material things. It happens in all aspects of life, from beliefs to behaviors to even relationships. Take political ideologies, for example. Once you start paying attention to a certain political view or argument, you start noticing it everywhere. Your friends, family, and even strangers seem to be talking about it, posting about it, or displaying views that align with the new idea you've recently become aware of. The frequency illusion has you convinced that this ideology is now everywhere when in reality, it's always been there. The same happens with new trends or movements. Once you discover a new subculture, whether it's a style of music, fashion, or philosophy, you suddenly see it everywhere. But again, these movements have existed for far longer. It's just that you hadn't tuned into them until recently. A deeper look into the social influence. The frequency illusion also ties into social influence. We tend to see things more frequently when we are surrounded by people who are aware of them, whether in real life or through social media. Your awareness of something might trigger others to become more aware as well. This creates a cycle where the perception that something is everywhere is fueled by collective attention. Think of it like a group of friends. When one person in the group starts talking about a new restaurant, others are more likely to notice ads or posts about it. The group begins to notice and talk about it more, and before you know it, it feels like everyone is talking about this new place. Psychological effects of the frequency illusion. While the frequency illusion might seem like a harmless quirk of perception, it can actually have more profound psychological effects. The more your brain is convinced that something is ubiquitous, the more you start to feel left out or overwhelmed if you don't engage with it. You start to question, why didn't I notice this before? Or is everyone else in on something I missed? This can create feelings of inadequacy, isolation, or even a sense of urgency to catch up with a trend or idea. This is also how FOMO, fear of missing out, works. It's not just about being left out of social events, but also about not participating in the latest idea, trend, or lifestyle that your brain has decided is everywhere. It can lead to an overwhelming urge to buy into what everyone else is consuming, even if it's not something that truly aligns with your interests. Conclusion: the illusion of change. So, why does this happen? Why does our brain trick us into thinking the world around us has changed because of something new? It's because our brains are constantly looking for patterns. When we notice something new, we make it part of our mental map of the world. Once we believe something is important, we filter out everything that doesn't fit that new narrative. In reality, the world hasn't changed. What's changed is our perception of it. We've simply tuned our focus to a new piece of information, and now it feels like the world revolves around it. But it's not the world that's changed, it's us. So next time you think something has suddenly become a trend, a must have, or a world changing event, take a step back. Ask yourself, did the world really change, or am I just seeing it differently now? The psychological and emotional toll. The emotional toll of the frequency illusion can't be underestimated. When we start to perceive something as being everywhere, it can trigger a deep sense of urgency or anxiety. Take FOMO, fear of missing out, for instance. Social media has become a breeding ground for this fear. As you scroll through your feed, you see people going to parties, traveling, living their best lives. Suddenly, you feel like everyone is having a good time but you. You're bombarded with the illusion that everyone is doing so. This feeling of missing out can lead to frustration, envy, and even depression. You start questioning why you're not experiencing the same things, and you begin to believe that everyone else is living a life you're not a part of. The truth, however, is that you're only seeing a small portion of reality. Those social media posts are carefully curated, often showing only the highlights of people's lives, not the struggles or dull moments. But your brain, influenced by the frequency illusion, begins to be the dangers of overthinking and overanalyzing. The frequency illusion can also lead us to overanalyze things to the point of obsession. When we start seeing something everywhere, we tend to create connections that aren't actually there. A new song comes on the radio and you start hearing it in every store, on every playlist, and in every conversation. You convince yourself that the song is somehow connected to something deeper, something more meaningful. But in reality, the song is just a song. Your brain is the one attaching meaning to it. Overanalyzing can cloud our judgment and cause us to make decisions based on faulty patterns. Instead of thinking critically about the situation at hand, we get caught up in the illusion that something is more important than it really is. This can lead to unnecessary stress and confusion. The takeaway: how to break the illusion. Now that we understand how powerful the frequency illusion can be, how can we break free from it? The first step is awareness. Once we realize that our perception is being shaped by cognitive biases, we can start to question whether what we're seeing is truly everywhere or if it's simply the result of our brain filtering information. Taking a step back and analyzing our thoughts and perceptions can help us see the bigger picture. Second, we can actively seek out different perspectives. By broadening our exposure to new ideas, people, and information, we can break free from the echo chambers and the narrow viewpoints that our brains are inclined to reinforce. Finally, we can practice mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us stay grounded in the present moment and allows us to be more aware of our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them. By staying aware of how our minds are processing information, we can start to see things more clearly and prevent the frequency illusion from taking over. So the next time you think that the world around you has changed, whether it's a new trend, an idea, or a belief, ask yourself, has the world really changed or is it just the way I'm seeing it?